Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Red. If you don't know who I am by now, you'll never know me, aka Black Magic Shaka, whatever you want to call it. And this is the host of the somewhat controversial, off color, off beat, The Other Side of the Ropes. That's right, folks. It is the video column or video journal about wrestling from a wrestler's point of view. Now, I know we're on the heels of another pay per view from WWE. Sorry, that was Hell in a Cell. Yeah, whatever. Now, kind of ties into what I was my biggest rant. I know I'm moving all over the place. I'm just trying to get comfortable. Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm still kind of recovering from my own little match from last night out in Sewell, New Jersey, and yeah, well, it happens. Go figure. But we always have this big debate. I mean, even the guys on the independents, it's not always a big thing about because, like I said, what normally happens is a lot of the indie guys watch these same pay-per-views, and like I said, for me, I think what it is, they're not as so much taking notes. It's more or less, some of them are using it as a template, or they're waiting to see if wrestling is going to come back to mainstream. I don't think it is. Um, what most people don't realize is the thing with this sport is sometimes what is not always perceived as a sport, especially now, is because of the perception. Is this thing is a cycle. It's a huge perception that it may not get any better, and they're waiting for the mainstream to lead the way on that. Folks, you can't go home again, and I'll tell you why. Reason why I'm not blue, I don't have too much faith in mainstream resurrecting that anytime soon, is because of the fact that it's mainstream. Normally, when mainstream gets hold of anything, especially if it's got to do with the corporate stuff, it pretty much gets dead real fast. Or, I've said this before, and this is one of my favorite quotes of the year. It was from Hellboy Joachim Hansen. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he fights over in Japan in MMA. You're not going to see him in UFC. You're not going to see him in Strikeforce anytime soon. You're not going to see him in Bellator. The reason why you won't see him is because of this very statement that he said. Any fish, let me rephrase that again, only a dead fish goes with the current. And what's mainstream? Well, there you go. You go with the currents, pretty much played out. So, I mean, you worrying about money. I'm like, dude, you talking about a guy from Europe, he's in Japan competing. I think he's doing pretty good. I'm just saying. Most cases like that, if you manage to hit an international form or what have you, and what most people don't realize here in the States, that before UFC made it the way it is, made MMA what it is over here as a household name, MMA was a lot bigger, or was very big, and a lot more respectful, and it still is, over in Japan. I mean, think about it. You had Pride, you have Dream. Dream is still around. You have Deep. You had Pancras. That's where you had the Shamrock Brothers, Kazushi Sakuraba, all these guys. The Brazilians fought there first before there was a UFC. So like I said, I mean it's a whole different ball game, folks. But like I said, if you want to talk about waiting for it to go old school, you can't go home again. You can try as you might, you can't go home again. I mean, I'll give you a good example. About 20 years ago, I was stationed over in Korea for a year. That's what they call a hardship tour. That's neither here or there. Okay. I go from age 19, turn 20, come back home, and I'm going to tell you, you're right. Because when I came home, everything looked small. I didn't realize how much I grew. Because once you go away, come back, everything's not going to be the same. Never is. And everybody's trying to okay, let's put it another way. You can study all the matches, all the footage. I don't care if it's Japan. I don't care if it's the old stuff on YouTube all you want. You can't emulate that because it was a whole different, time period. It was a whole different crowd. And the guys doing all the work were not trained the same as you or I. not the same trainers, because the guys that we grew up watching on TV were trained by some of the guys who were trained by hookers, if they weren't trained by the hookers themselves. And get your mind out together. If you know wrestling, you know what I'm talking about when I say hooker, you dirty purse. Or if you want to call shooters, these guys knew what to do. On the flip side of that, they were trained one way, but they were told, they were instructed by the promoters. I put it out there, but it ain't nothing new. They were told to do something totally different. You know it's something different when you got the guys you grew up watching, and I see this quite often, and I said this on Top Rope Radio earlier. I've seen this quite often with the guys when I go to locker rooms in Germany. The guys you grew up watching, these guys were still legit athletes. They had the athletic pedigree, even if they didn't have the background of being shooters or hookers. But even, you know, it's bad when they say, when I see it, now I can't watch what's on TV now. They can't watch the successors, because the guys that's on there now, they look good for TV. They give good face. That's about it. They can pass for athletes. That's it. They pass for athletes. And people say, oh, it's a show. Sure, it's a show. You can watch, like, and I said this last week in the column before, you can get a show out of watching a football game, playoffs or no, if it's a good game or not. Same thing with NBA. There's showmanship involved, but you got to remember, it's still competition. And even Bill Watts said this, and I'm gonna put it out there: work or shoot, however you want to make the perception, it's still competition. That's the thing people are missing. I mean, you wear a title and people make a big thing about that. It's not just a compliment, dude. I mean, think about it. It's an award, it's a trophy, but even the guy holding it, in my case, you're also an ambassador, okay? I don't care who you work for, you're the face of that promotion, okay? You're an ambassador. You got to act like it. Seriously, you got to act like it. It's one thing to sit up there and take a picture and, you know, I got the big old shiny belt, whoop-de-doo. Make it mean something more than that. I mean, I've said this before. I mean, if you want to talk about going old school, well, if you know your roots well enough, then you know that the roots for professional wrestling, and I showed it a book, professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, submission grappling, is catch as catch can. And look closely around you. Boxing's taking notice, and that's still been finding out they're more of a dinosaur because they're knocking on MMA because they see it as a threat. Guess what? We need to get out of our ivory tower. We need to start taking notes. See it as a threat or just learn. Guess what? Whole different level of competition. But it's grappling. A lot of what they do is on a whole higher level. I said it, higher level than what we knew. We need to get on the ball. You know, you want to go old school? Go study some grappling. Don't matter. You can find catch as catch can. You can look on the videos on YouTube. I do. You do that. But if you understand what you're going through or what you're talking about, that's when it makes more sense. You know, look up catch style. It don't matter. Look up jiu-jitsu. Look up judo. Don't matter. But up your game. You know, I mean, personally to me, I watch matches I watch an indie match and it looks like I'm watching a damn drill. I'm like, come on, guys. Seriously, you put me in a headlock, you just fed me your back. You want to know how? Get in the ring with me. You'll find out what I'm talking about. That's all I'm going to say. Don't be surprised you suddenly find yourself flying violently backward and you wind up on your back. And next thing you know, you find yourself in some kind of a neck crank. Hey, it can happen. Just saying. But on that note, I'm going to close it out now. But I said our piece. We already did the Top Rope Radio bit. And, well, our guest couldn't show up. We unfortunately couldn't get the Nigerian Nightmares, which was kind of a relief for us. Because Johnny, well, went to the trailer trash. He went to the trailer library. And the phrase book he found was like a bit dated. I think he said it was like published in 1976. I went online. That's when I got a shocking. I knew it was a bit of I know it was a whole plethora, a panoply of dialects in Nigeria. I didn't know it was that many. I mean, I realized it had been at least 50 by the time they alphabetized it. By the time I got down to F, I'm like, oh, man. And I stand corrected. They may be French, but I forgot. That's not exactly the official language, but they got enough of them. I'm serious. I couldn't figure out if I had to learn Igbo or Yoruba or Efik. I wasn't sure. So I said, okay, you know what? Maybe they just saved us a headache. So But I don't think we'd ever figure out that to nail it down anyway, because I'm still trying to figure out if guy is an actual term, which I don't think it is. But anyway, make the shout outs as short as possible. Of course, to Johnny, happy birthday, by the way. Jesse, Jackson, Grizzly, in other words, the 38 proof. Sickness down in Arizona. The Maximum Crew. Of course, I'm talking about Massive, EL, D-Line. Jeff and Amber in Delaware. Grey Wolf. Haroof. I know you like that. To the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance crew out in Jersey. Risky Business Inc., of course, my stable. Been in there for about 12 years. No, 10 years. I'm sorry. Of course, I'm talking about Risky Business himself, Rodney Reigns. My stable mates, Dave Patera, Andy Header. Of course, shout outs to my elders, Twiggy, Biggie Biggs, and of course, Ed House. Oh, and somewhere in there from Centralia, I think he went back there when it's still always burning, the cremator. Somebody check for a mask. Anyway, upstate, we got our boys representing the elite generation. Fury, Lucifer Grimm, my boy out in New York State, Junior White, my little brother, Mr. 212, the NMG Sky Limits champion. I'm talking about none other than little brother Xavier Faye for the 212 aspect of the 215 Empire. Shout out to the 215 Empire. Cage, IB Green, the hybrid Sean Carr. In other words, the rest of the 3DW crew up in New York. Big ups to Doc Diamond of Devastation University. He just got inducted. Sorry, Doc. He just got inducted into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame over this weekend. Big ups, Doc. Congratulations. To the rest of Devastation U, my other frats, Flex Wheeler, Slayer, Ravage, O-Dog, Atlas Rivera, wherever you are, Ravenheart in the Brotherhood, and to the British crew, on to those guys. That's right, I'll put you over to the singing dads. None other than Teetotaler Tommy Stevens, Petey, Drewy, Woo, The Milkshake, Jim, Vicky, all you guys over in Britain. If I miss you, well, don't worry, I'll get you next time. Guaranteed, I'm working on it. To my boys in Belgium, Robin, Lori, Homeless, Jack, Dorax, Gangrene, Rob Raw, and Lindy. I'm sorry, Wendy, Inderdad. To my Holland crew, the Sumerian Death Squad, Rico, Destructo, Andy, Ethan, Patterson. Happy belated birthday, Andy. To my crew in Deutschland, to the House of Jack, Susie, Craig BC, Crazy Sexy Mike and Ahmed out in Berlin, Susie and Katrina in Dresden, that's my family there, Sandra in Grossenhain, Kathy Matthews, Maddie, Savannah, Andrea Topcatch, Marcella Pro Wrestling Fighters, Crazy Johnny Tiger and Kill Mala and the rest of the Deutsch Wrestling Alliance crew, Rick the Voice Valentine, Marcus of WrestlingFever.de, Burned and the rest of the WrestlingJunkies.de crew, Jazzy, Mina, and Jenny from Pro Wrestling Eve. Big ups to the Deutschland crew. I know I kind of messed it up. I'm a little tongue-tied. But I think I almost ran on record time here. Under 15 minutes as usual. The rest of you guys, incense. I'm out. Peace.